Welcome everyone to an episode where we have full house today. We have two honor guests, Yolanda Brown and Sevier, and of course my co-host Natasha. And
Hello,
we are
everyone.
here to talk about a very mysterious uh, curious title that you should start now wondering what are we going to talk about. So we are going to talk about the abundant ask. And I'm going to introduce first Yolanda Brown. She is the founder of Copyright Brown, a boutique content agency and the creator of the Content Leftovers course. Yolanda is a seasoned content writer and strategist with a passion for helping entrepreneurs and creative artists. She empowers experts and thought leaders to create compelling content that resonates with their target audience. Yolanda's expertise lies in writing bios and artist statements, content repurposing, content strategy, and editing. And Sevier. Soulara is a holistic Reiki master teacher and founder and CEO of Soul Reiki, plus health, plus beauty, plus wellness. So we have everything in a package. A sanctuary for those seeking holistic transformation and renewal. With over 25 years of holistic wellness, education, training, and experience, Sulara champions the interconnectedness of mind, body, and soul through curated offerings of guided meditations, traditional Reiki training and certification, skin carotenoid testing, corporate wellness programs, and retreat support, and much more. Thank you both for being here and for enlightening with your presence.
We're happy to be
Thank
here. Thank you
you.
so much, David and Natasha.
Yes.
I'm
What?
excited. Tell us more about the title. Give us an overall.
Lara, would
Exactly.
you like to
That's
start?
what going to ask.
Well, I was going to suggest I'll do I'll say a soft intro because this idea really came from the brain, the energy, the aura of Yolanda. We started off meeting one another on the Healthy Neighborhoods project, and an idea popped into her mind, which was let's collaborate on a presentation. And so this is why it's important for her to share just how it kind of blossomed within her. But my take on our experience in curating this wonderful and powerful presentation is that it was more about tuning into who we are and where we are within ourselves, within the world, within just this collective consciousness, and what are we asking for? Are we being intentional about what we're asking of ourselves, what we're asking of, those who are in our collective experience, our environment, and how do we utilize that for the betterment of humanity? And so it was just once again a pleasure to work with Yolanda and really flush out this idea. But the way that it came through her, I think is just a marvelous experience that I would like for her to share because it was just an honor for me to join her on the journey of presenting this.
Oh my gosh, blushing.
Mhm.
My whole face is hot. But the seed of this idea really came to me because I sometimes see people that are unfulfilled. But I felt so often that when we come through the portal or however you think we come through, you're just chocked full of everything you need. And being in relationship and being in community with other people activates things that you can't push the button for yourself.
Hmm.
And we witness for other people. And one of the reasons I'm really keen about Soulara is she's a witness.
Hmm.
She sees things, she feels things. And so someone, if something's happening, she saw that. She heard that. Right? So being in community and being in relationship with other human beings helps you fully manifest your full spectral human experience. And sometimes that experience is diminished or reduced or not fully activated because of the way we ask or the fact that we don't ask. So I've carried this thing for many years. What if you could have 10% more than you've ever had in your life and expand your peace, your pleasure, and your freedom? Wouldn't it be worth it? And the way you can maybe get 10% more, and I think way beyond 10%, is how you authentically and genuinely embrace asking. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we're not even asking ourselves. Like, I did something today, like I did something in less than 24 hours that I didn't know I was going to do. And one of the things I did, I asked myself, would you be brave today and not look back? Because where you're going is not back there. And so the seed of it is peace, pleasure, and freedom, and just making these asks. The universe, your dad, your son's school teacher, the barista. You know, maybe they'll give you the coconut syrup for free if you just ask them. Yeah. So that's where I started.
Oh, there's so much to unpack there. It's absolutely wonderful, which is beautiful. So what a beautiful collaboration, and the energy between you two lovely ladies is just incredible. So I'd love to know more about that. And you're absolutely right in the sense of not wanting to go back. And I think that's a lot of what the messages that I've been getting as well, is that we're all going through this almost kind of like a cocoon phase where it's icky, it's gooey, it's sticky, it's kind of like, and we're deconstructing what was, and we're deciding how are we going to become, like what are we going to become. And the butterfly never looks behind the caterpillar and says, oh, I wish I was a caterpillar. I think it probably turns around and goes, wow, what an incredible experience I had, and this is where I am now. But I love that you're bringing this up right now, because we humans don't like to ask, because we make it mean something. We make it mean that we're not enough, or we're not, or we're just not, we just don't know that. I don't know. There's so much to unpack there. How do you overcome that asking for something, right? It's like, or even receiving. Sometimes it's even receiving we don't know how to receive, right? Like I remember I had a group that there was a lady who couldn't even receive a compliment, and I think we all go through that, where instead of just we deny the compliments that we get, and we don't know how to ask for things. So. Yeah, tell us more about the journey of learning to ask.
Wow, Natasha, you said a lot. I'm just sitting here like clapping, like yes, exactly. Because I'm thinking about the butterfly, and when you talked about where we are just collectively with this sticky, transformative energy that we're all in, and it's individual, but yet it's collective, and that is a very interesting place to be in. And Yolanda, I just was getting chills again when she used the word witness with me, because sitting in the seat of being a witness, that's a lot of responsibility, right? Energetically, physically, emotionally, and oftentimes me having this desire to help people since I was a little girl. I want to jump in. I want to do more than sometimes what I'm actually able to do. And so sometimes that's a bit challenging, because being the witness means you could, like Yolanda said, I saw that. And in my case, I feel that, I sense that, because all of the senses are turned on. So it's an honor. It's a lot that comes with that. To whom much is given, much is required. But at the same time, there's this piece that is with the asking, as you said, so importantly, Natasha, is just the receiving, right? It's asking, but then the way that it comes back, it might not be as you intended, right? You may ask for one thing, but it comes in a different form, or it comes much sooner than you were, quote unquote, ready for. So we just have to really sit in that seat, right? Of, okay, what was the role that I played in this asking? And how did I ask? Did I ask with my intention? Did I ask with my energy? Oftentimes we're carrying this frequency. We don't realize that's a prayer. That's a mantra. We keep, staying in that cycle. It's a mantra. We're saying, give me more of this, universe, based on our frequency and our vibration. So there's the verbal ask, but then there's also just an energetic ask as well, because that is how we're really attracting the situations, circumstances, and people into our lives. And so, again, so much to unpack. So I'll pause there and allow just this wisdom from Yolanda to come on through.
Oh gosh, What a festival of joy today.
Just amazing how a simple title can be unpacking so many things, and the way that you both describe Natasha, of course, Yolanda and Soulara, you describe this interaction that we are having with the quote unquote new world, because we don't even know what's gonna be, but we are feeling that progress. We are feeling that energy that is trying to push us forward. And I was just reflecting on a video where there was a girl that also has these intuitive powers, and she was talking about this collective energy that is that many people feel that are being gaslighted by the culture, the cancellation of things that you cannot say, the crumbling of institutions, the way that the world is changing is so fast that we are not sometimes ready to receive what is coming. No, so we feel that we are in shaky ground many times, or we fear that uncertainty sometimes, because we don't know what it's gonna be or how it's gonna look, and if we are ready for that kind of challenge. So how can you help people that are feeling fearful or insecure in these times where they feel so much chaotic things, and in their own lives they don't even know how to interact with that?
Well, one thing I think also that we're being called to remember is consent, safety, and boundaries. No matter what, if you're on the zero or the one side of the spectrum, how do we play while all these shifts are happening? I mean, the earth has just changed again
Mm-hmm.
from the blink of our eye. So it's happening. It's been happening. I think people, some things are more turned on, so they're experiencing it at a higher frequency or more deeply. And Adrienne Marie Brown says, your no makes the way for your yes. And boundaries create the container for which your yes becomes more authentic. So what are you saying yes to? And that's, I think, as things are shifting, burning all the way down to the ground and being new blossoms are coming, I think more and more it's about clarity, confidence, and connection. Like, who are you drawing to you? What do you understand? What do you desire deeply? And that requires you to look at yourself and not fool yourself. You know who you are. And
Mm-hmm.
what impact do you intend to make? And then this whole internal dialogue before you're expressing outward. Because we really are making the next iteration of everything right now.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to become anything new. It's already being made. You're already in it. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. They think, oh, I have to go get this degree right in 3 years. I'll be finished and then I'll become, or I have to lose 22 and a half pounds and I will become, right? I need to speak a particular way for this particular faction or regime or political thing, or just for Thanksgiving dinner. And then I will be okay. But no, I think everything that's needed, we have it. It's just that courage to live it out loud and know you're going to be okay. You're okay right now. You're going to be okay. And I don't know who said it, but they said the universe doesn't operate in yes and no. Whatever you decide, it's gonna go with you and co-create with you. So just decide and go. And again, that comes back to, what is your abundant ask? What are you asking for? If you want a place where all the children and every creature and every being is healthy and happy and educated and enjoys peace, pleasure, and freedom, what can you do in a granular way today? Maybe you call your mother. Maybe you leave a tip. Maybe you put your waste in the bin. Maybe you go to bed 30 minutes early. it's just little simple, like little things, like when we were teeny tiny, the things that would give us complete joy. A Nancy Drew or Hardy Boys book was mine in the chair. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you did it. You know, go back and find your fourth grader. He knows. She knows. We're just too busy trying to be grown ups. I gotta throw it away. I think I got off topic.
No, you were so spot on. There was something you mentioned. It was very powerful about one, you know who you are. And you just said it. It was just, that's it. Like, we don't have to pretend. You came here as you. You are good enough. You are enough. You don't have to wait until and do this and do that. But there was something else about just tuning into your authentic self and being aware of what you've already been given. I think it was just about articulating like our inner truth and communicating that more powerfully to the world. And the fun activities that really, when we're in that creative fun space, is when we are the most magical, when we don't second guess ourselves. I was doing an activity a little bit earlier today, and I pay attention to nature. I pay attention to the different moon cycles. And I remember just a little bit of this, a little bit of that, just kind of working on this jar activity that came through me to do. And I was just thinking of, okay, it works because I said it works, period. Right? It's not okay, well, what if, and all these things, like Yolanda said, we're out here trying to be an adult. Like, what does this mean now that we've been on the planet for X amount of years? No, it's your inner fourth grader. It's your inner newborn. It's your inner infant. Your inner soul. We go back to the beginning, your inner God or goddess, right? And so it was just a reminder when I was doing this activity, like, oh, this cinnamon knows what it is. Like you say, Yolanda, you know who you are. It knows what it does. It knows the frequency, right? I'm intending to put this in here and do this. This rosemary understands that it's rosemary. It's not a rose, it's rosemary. And it has this quality, this frequency. So when you're adding these things together with an intention, it is so. It is so.
Look at that.
Yeah. I think adulting is a little bit overrated. It's just like, I keep saying, when I grow up one day, I'm going to be blah, 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 what it is, which is brilliant. Yeah. But you're right, absolutely. Both, and Yolanda, like you were saying, kind of like, I think, I usually say that we're spoiled brats because the universe is always saying yes. God is always saying yes. We're never saying no. So when we think of our thoughts that, I'm not good enough, the universe is saying, yeah, you're not good enough. You want to experience that? Go ahead, Or, yes, I am absolutely abundant. The universe is saying, yes, you are. And things start to show up for you, which is amazing. And then, so I think that's absolutely beautiful. And the other thing that you said, it's like, when I have this, then I'll be happy. And it's almost kind of like one needs to be happy first, and then whatever it is that we're wanting will tend to show up at the same time as well. But I find that sometimes we're so conditioned, and this is something that's actually come up for me recently. And I think it's because, the theme of we're so conditioned to survive, we're not conditioned to thrive. And it's really, really releasing those constructs once we realize these patterns that we hold. And I think that's what makes us afraid to ask, or sometimes we ask the wrong people because subconsciously or consciously, we know we're not going to get that. So it becomes almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy because, it's almost kind of like, they usually say, if you want something done, ask the busiest person in the room, because usually they'll get it done, right? But a lot of the time we do the self-fulfilling thing where we ask the wrong people and then we give up. What would both of you suggest is a way of working through that survival to thriving, where we actually feel that we can ask, where we feel that we are worthy and deserving of asking and receiving? Because I know that when we're not being our authentic selves and we're running other people's programs, I do a lot of ancestral stuff, it actually causes disease and dysfunction in the body. So how do we overcome that, in a sense of what is the thought process like to overcome that, being worthy and deserving of asking for what we desire?
You
I'm going
know,
to take a breath.
go ahead, Yolanda.
I said, I'm going to take a breath
Sorry.
on that. Would you like to start? And then we
Oh,
can talk to you
sure.
about what we call the asking lens and the asking filter, but I'll let Soulara start.
Oh, and we're spot on the same page, Yolanda. I was thinking about, Natasha mentioned thinking, what do we think as far as a way to get into this awareness that we are enough and to have this bold audacity to ask. And first, I think it has to come from the head and into the heart space.
Yeah.
Oftentimes we think a lot, right? And that's the thing that can hold us up a lot and create blockages is just thinking, right? How many thoughts per day do we have? And how many are
Mm-hmm.
on the positive side and how many are on the not so positive side based on influence, right? We've got all these social things happening that just really can interfere, with our mindset. One of the things that Yolanda and I brought to our presentation was an activity called the Mad Lib Styles. And that was just a game that we would play growing up. You might remember it where we would say a question such as this: if I could have anything in the world that I wanted, it would be X, right? That kind of gets out of the thinking of it, right? So we're removing, oh, well, I only make X amount per year, or, oh, I don't know how much this will cost. It's just answer the question. So we're getting past, the mind and then going into the heart. What does my heart truly desire? One of the questions that we did ask was, if I could wave a magic wand, I would take an action to do something so that I can and then have a desired outcome. And when we get into that joyful, playful stage of having fun, what does it look like with all these instructions without, having to have all these rules? Things get to be more freeing. They get to become more fun and joyful. And all of us here know that when you're in the free and joyful states, your attraction, your magnetism goes way up.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're starting to attract what you desire anyway. And so I'll pause, Yolanda, and please share.
Oh gosh, why am I having so much fun listening? I'm listening, and I'm always in the seat of a learner too. It is just like, even though I know a little bit of something about this, I'm still, even in this moment, just kind of captured by what I'm learning and what I'm remembering. And I think in my conversations with Soulara, we talk about getting beneath your conscious awareness, and moving through what you all are saying, the thinking part. And when we think about the asking, we're looking at the asking lens, or this perspective you have when you're asking. So do you see asking as an opportunity? Do you see it as a place for connection and growth? Or is there a lot of rejection and shame around it? So, because we know there's like childhood interactions, some kind of work related things. And at the base of most things that limit us is what? Some fear, right? Fear, ego, So I always say, step back into your love square. Everything will be fine. and, and then it's your asking lens, and then it's your asking filter. Your asking filter is like the gatekeeper. What are you doing? How dare you? So your lens is directly influences the filter, and the filter sometimes can, if you like a filter on your dryer or something, it can get filled up, and it's not going to allow much to come through. So your filter, in some ways, you want to breathe it open, so you feel you have more sense of safety, and your what used to be your minimal ask seems to expand. And so the analogy I give for the filter is like a really strict bouncer at a nightclub, exclusive club. You get buzzed in. You're trying to get past that fella or that lady because you're trying to get as many predictable yeses as possible. And so looking at the messages and looking at how you're going about asking, and is that coming from connection and growth, or if it's coming from rejection and shame, and then trying to breathe that filter open. So you building the infrastructure and that kind of scaffolding, that muscle to get more predictable yeses. And if you are, like you said, the universe is just going to be yes. maybe practicing trusting that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that helps a lot, because fear-based communication, it just keeps you where you are.
Yeah.
It doesn't allow you to it doesn't allow you to fully realize what you were brought here to do. Because they say we selected this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm here to have as many cuddles and laughs and Sherlock Holmes movies, walks in botanical gardens, and as many inappropriate giggling sessions as possible.
I like that.
That's what I'm here for. I am the
I
girl
love
that
the way.
laughed in church. I laughed in church all the time. It was hilarious.
I love the way how you explain all this integration of our inner self and grounding, uh, also keeping in touch with what we feel, what we want, who we are, and
Mhm,
going back to the basics of how we were when we were children, and touching, let's say, touching base with those values, with that love that we felt for everything, because when
mhm,
we were children we fell in love with many things and we were joyful, and we
mhm,
lost that by wanting to be an adult. But we need to touch back in order to divide and conquer. I also like that analogy that Yolanda did about the pieces, the little things that you can do, and not overwhelming with everything that you have to do.
mhm,
Because I think that by dividing things into really small pieces that you don't need to compare with anyone else, you will feel that rhythm and motion, that you are progressing and that you
Mm-hmm.
are uh, moving out of this fearful vibration into a productive and attracting frequency, let's say.
mhm,
So I was thinking in the analogy also of the butterfly and how we are in this cocoon phase. And when the butterfly is fighting, well, it's in the transformation process and it's fighting to peel the layers and to open and crack the cocoon, or the, yes, the protection that it has. How those people uh, do that in their own lives? How do they find this light that is coming from outside? They can
mhm,
see it, they see the crack, they see where they have to go, but they need sometimes that push
mhm.
so that they can do it.
Ooh, I like that. They said, I think it's the lobster that will become incredibly uncomfortable before it changes its shell.
Mm.
And I think some of that discomfort comes from circular conversations we have inside our head. I would rather not hear myself say this again, or I would rather not tell someone this tale again. And sometimes that will push us, because the echo chamber of our own head may open up a new pathway for us. And then I think also seeing someone do something, or a fraction of something, or a glimmer of something that you envision for yourself, but you've never seen even a modicum of how to do that thing. And I was always the kid in my family. I'm the eldest of about 8 kids, two separate kind of family units. And I often thought it would be the younger children that did a lot of things that no one in the family had done before. And I seem to have been this person. Um, I would think non-traditionally, I knew at 7 what I wanted to do. I was very clear that I needed to spend part of my day or week outside of the home. Otherwise, I would just be like writing songs that no one else would hear. I would be gardening all the time. I would be making art, and I'd be reading. And I could do most of that in my yard or on my porch, and I didn't have to go around people. So at 7, I'm standing on a little red stool in Dayton, Ohio, on Oak Ridge Drive. My mother comes in the kitchen, and I'm standing on a stool washing dishes. She didn't know about child labor laws, my mother. And so, mommy, she comes in. I say, "Mommy, yes, I'm going to be a teacher, an artist, and a pastor." "Okay, baby, that's good. Keep washing the dishes." But I knew being a teacher would get you out of the house because you had to go to the school, right? Mm-hmm. And I just saw adults around me, and they're generally very happy. And I said, I've got to figure out this thing because I'm going to be a big one day. I'm a little right now, but one day I'm going to be a big, and I want to be very happy. So at 7, I figured it out. And everything has been in those kind of realms. I never became a pastor. I have had some 7th grade boys tell me I do sermonettes. Because I remind them of things, and then I talk a little too long. So, yeah, I think sometimes seeing a glimmer of something you desire, but you don't really know how to get there, and you go, oh, if I start with it being the color blue, it could be something that tiny, then I will take a next step. You know, because listen, I am in the private chat on Zoom, text this woman that does not know me from a can of paint. "Hi, I'm Yolanda from Ohio. Would you like to talk sometime, Soulara?" The next, now she can't get me to stop talking. But I stepped out on faith, I guess, and said something about her is divine and exquisite, and I'm going to talk to her. She is part of my making. And that's what I did. So I kind of cleared away those filters, and I looked at connection and growth, and I said, there's something there for me. There's medicine in that woman for me.
Beautiful.
Wow, I'm blushing now. I'm in the dressing room chair now, getting all the blush on. And really, it's just a lot of honor, Yolanda. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for your abundant ask. Like you said, here we are, and you know, we've all been on THMP, and you know, we've got that chat box there, and you know, we can select, you know, who do we want to send a message to, and it was just a beautiful receipt to hear from Yolanda. And so, as you all can see, we were able to make this powerful connection. I do want to go back to just our topic about when things are challenging or difficult. You know, this caterpillar is just minding its own caterpillar business, you know, and it's just like, wait a second, it has some kind of inner knowing that there's more to life than me just kind of laying on my stomach and inching along on these leaves and munching a bit here and there. There's something more. And so, as Yolanda so eloquently stated at the beginning, you know, we come here with everything that we need within us, right? Everything. And so for me, it's the signals that come through. You know, that caterpillar is like, wait, I'm munching these leaves and I'm grateful. I appreciate it. But I think I'm having a memory of flying. I'm having a memory of going across some ocean waters, thousands and thousands of miles. Like, how do I get there? And so it's the asking, it's the abundant ask for what do I do next? What season am I in? What is this vision that I keep seeing, you know, within myself? And so I also want to just bring up about this transformation process. And, you know, ladies, we all know, if we don't know it physically, we know by hearsay, having these babies and bringing a baby to term. Listen, that's uncomfortable, right? For this soul to come into this existence and come through, right? And so what's the signal that it's time, right, to expand and to do some other things, to enter, you know, into the mother phase? And that is when the water breaks, right? That's that big signal. You know, we're getting little signals along the way where, you know, you have growing of the baby, and the baby's kicking, and different things of that nature. But their signals is what I'm getting to. So we have to pay attention to the signals in nature. And I talked about the moon earlier. What's happening? What is she doing? Oh, she's been here for eons. Let me pay attention to her. Oh, this is a quiet phase. Well, this is the real cocoon. I get a cocoon every month. I get a chance to be a new moon cocoon. Okay, what do we do in a new moon? We be quiet. We sit down. We write things down. And then we have to get to the full stage, but then that's going to be uncomfortable. Sometimes we're going to get the no's. We talked about what's keeping us from asking. For me, it was fear of hearing no. Like, I don't really want to ask because what if it's a no? Well, what if it is a no? Right? Maybe I gain courage as the exchange, medium for me voicing, what it was that I really wanted. Maybe I'm learning, well, I have to articulate that. Maybe it's no for now, right? Or maybe it's just not that right person. So another thing that came to mind was, when you tap into yourself, because you're getting the signals, whether they be by dream, whether they be by someone just sharing information that came through them and they shared it with you. It's community, which is what we have here right now today. It's just a space to share ideas and thoughts. And as Yolanda was saying, like, this is just a ooey gooey type of day. Like, oh, let me grab some of that. Let me grab some of that. Right. So it's community that helps to foster that and helps us to build out this framework that we already came with all the pieces, right? This puzzle that we have, it's nothing missing. You know how you'll buy something from the store, it's like, oh, it's missing a few pieces. Once I get this final picture, oh, there's a spot missing. Not with us. We have all the pieces. And I agree, there are some people that come into your life for a reason, season, or lifetime to help you put those pieces together.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. Yeah, thank you for sharing.
You are both preaching here, so we are really, really for a treat.
Oh, I love that. And continuing on with this beautiful analogy of like the butterfly, is the icky gooey part is what we're used to. It's we're trying to hold on to old bits of ourselves as well, which is so interesting. Right? That's why it makes it hard. And that's why I think the more we hold on to things, the harder things become in that sense. So there's this beautiful space of surrendering to allowing what needs to be, because a lot of the times when we decide, okay, we want to be that butterfly, everything that's not butterfly starts to go away. Like friends, family, work, everything that is not in alignment with what we ask for starts to dissolve. And sometimes because we hold on to things so tightly, we think, oh my goodness, how is this happening to me? But we forget we've asked for something that this doesn't fit as part of it. So I think that part of kind of like that releasing, that letting go, that surrender, that acceptance is another word, because sometimes people say surrender is giving up, but I think it's just an acceptance that we're no longer and not yet. So we're in the space of kind of like, we're moving through that. But it's like Yolanda was saying, was what is that one thing that I can do today that will get me there? Because I believe that it's, yes, we absolutely need to think it, embody it, but there's nothing without actioning towards it, right? In order to and ask. And you reminded me of something my mom used to say, which was like, just ask. What's the worst that can happen? They'll just say no. You're just going to ask somebody else. Kind of a thing. So it's one of those beautiful things. So do you both have any tips in that surrendering process of kind of like going, okay, I usually tend to look at it as going like, how is this working for me, not against me? But it's still uncomfortable in that space of moving through that. What do you have any tips for our audience and for that, in letting go and surrendering?
Yolanda, you want to go first?
Okay. So, one of the things that I think excited us about this topic was something's happening in the universe that hasn't happened in 400 years. We're in this time, it's Aquarian time, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's asking, how can you contribute to something bigger? So that immediately caused me to connection, interconnectedness, and collaboration. And I think that's one vehicle or a bridge or something to get you to expand the vision, to get beyond the personal, get into the collective, because we're all adding to that vortex. And I could stop there and then we can come back. But it's all your desires, your dreams, your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that is in the collective.
Mm-hmm. I
And
love
look at that interconnection and that collaboration. I cast myself as a curious, collaborative connector.
Mm.
And being curious, that is a super seed that you can water.
Mm-hmm.
And so many things will come up that you have forgotten and that will take you to this next iteration of yourself and our species, I think. You know, some of this things we're experiencing is because I will gather to say that some of us have stopped being curious.
that. Yeah. Yeah. Just to add to what Yolanda was saying and really tune into some words of wisdom, and it would be awareness. Awareness is always numero uno. Like, you have to just be aware of what's happening. You know, we've given awareness terms such as anxiety, depression. We've got all these, nice medical terminologies for, what we're feeling within our bodies. And, I talked about signals earlier. That's a signal that there's something that's going on, something is out of alignment. And when things are out of alignment, that first thing that I look to is energy and balance within that energy. And that's why I just love all things energy healing, because we're all energetic beings, right? We're in a physical form, but first it's energy. And so when you think about healing and after that awareness, is like, okay, I'm feeling uncomfortable. Why do I have anxiety around X, Y, and Z? And if a person is not able to do their own energy healing, whatever that might be. I call it Reiki, along with some other techniques, but someone else might call it something different. But having a way to tune into that awareness that something is out of alignment, and to have a way to shift that perspective, going in and in my case, manually lifting those blockages from an energetic intention. And we talked earlier about having that power, knowing that, okay, you know who you are, right? Knowing that you can do a certain thing. And so just lifting that heavy blockage. And then whenever you are releasing something, you have to place something in its space. If you don't, it has a tendency to be open to receive either something of that same vibration that just left, or something that you're not necessarily prepared for. So you have to know it's just an exchange, like the law of reciprocity. I'm giving this over here with the intent to receive something else. And so will be awareness. And if something is out of alignment, to work on that, either with yourself or someone who has that expertise. And then thirdly, I wrote down just staying in those highest frequencies. And I know we talked earlier about so many things happening on the planet. Well, there's a lot that we can't control with regards to what we allow in to our energetic system. Are we going to bed with the news on? Are we waking up with the news on? Are we on social media? Because now social media is the new news, right? What are we doing to expand our mindset? I loved when Yolanda talked about reading earlier, and I know that she hasn't stopped reading, right? Because it just brought back so many memories of me being in this summer reading club, like every summer, me trying to get this certificate. But literally, what are we doing to expand our minds and our hearts and for the collective? How are we here to help other people? But ultimately, it comes back to yourself, having that awareness, acknowledging anything that's out of alignment, working on that misalignment, and then being in community with highest frequencies.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And I thought about a glass full of sand. And if you shake the glass, you feel that misalignment in the turbid water, or
Yes.
because you shake the glass. That's how you feel when you are going to change. You feel that you have been shaken, and you have these signals that are taking you or moving you or trying to give you this guidance. And then if you settle down, you ground, and you let all the particles to give this clarity to your eyes, that's when you know that this is the way, and that's when the people that you need starts to appear, and the people that you don't start to just go away and just pass through your life, and that's it. No, as you
Mhm.
mentioned also that we have people for each of the phases that we need, and holding on is just gonna make the water more, let's say, polluted, or let's say to decrease the frequency. No, so the more we are at peace, the more we center with ourselves, the more we breathe. Sometimes we need to breathe and stop and pause in spite of the busyness. And that's just thinking out loud because I need that right now. I think you see the clarity and you see the things and the steps that you need to take. So this is just being like a meditation, a talking meditation.
I
Oh yes,
agree.
I love this. The sand, the clarity.
Yeah,
Oh gosh,
yeah,
this is
yeah.
like bedtime stories.
Yeah, right. It's just definitely a lot to reflect on, and I see all the smiles going around the room. So I do feel as though we all just got a chance to share, like a picnic, like an
Yes.
energetic picnic, and conversation piece where we can just bring something and put it on the table and just take what we need, right? Put it on our plates, assimilate it, make this awesome life sandwich here, this expansion sandwich, you know. Yeah, I love
And
it.
there's one word that is calling my attention in your background, that is courage. Uh,
Yes.
how do you explain courage in this abundant ask equation, let's say?
Laura?
Oh, okay. I'll start.
Okay, I can go.
We're so
Whatever.
look. We're so
We're
polite. You
so
see this? It's
polite.
like you. Let me hold the door. So courage. It goes right within abundant. There's the word abundant is it's layered with so many different energetic frequencies, and based on our life's journey, some things can come up, right? Some people might have some fear around abundant. What does it mean? Who do I have to share it with? When is it coming? There's a lot of energy attached to that. But for me, courage is more of not knowing the outcome of it, not trying to, figure out how it's going to be done. But I just have the courage. I have that heart to say, this is what I want. I'm open to the steps that I need to take, but I'm not going to try to figure out the how. And Natasha said it so beautifully earlier about surrendering. Like, I'm going to surrender the how. Let me just do my job is to do the co-creation of the asking, the listening, the attuning, and the movement. Who do I need to call? Yolanda's, okay, let me tap in this chat. Imagine where would our lives be, Yolanda, had you not sent that message at
Oh,
THMP, right? Like, where would we
17%,
be?
Maury. 17%,
Right?
Maury.
Right. Like literally. And so many other things, that we can think about, had we not done that as it took courage. That's that solar plexus chakra being activated and saying, yes, I can do this, no matter the outcome. That's not my business. Like taking on this agreement of, taking it personally. It's about what it is that I desire. At least let me establish this connection with Soulara. At least let me, do this particular activity that has come to me to do. And so we're learning along the way through courage. So I'll pause there.
Okay. This is so good. And it really, I think, too, in the abundant ask is about embodiment and looking at something that's genuinely about your full potential.
Mm.
And your full potential is coupled with courage because no one is going to bet on you like you bet on yourself. And so it's inviting you to reflect on questions that you could do it privately that are tough questions. But once you get clear, as David has shared about the sand metaphor, you're unstoppable. You go from a surface level desire to fully integrate it, and it will truly reflect who you really are and the magic that you bring to everything. And I think that the courage also is part of the scaffolding to build everything on.
Mm.
Right? Because little by little, when you look like little bitty kids, or even like a little baby goat,
Mm.
I'm going to try to stand up, and then they're on wobbly. And then next thing, they can stand up to their mom, and the little goat can take milk from the mother. Next thing you know, they can walk and get, oh, I like that other baby goat. Let me walk over there. Hi, Jed. How are you? Next thing you know, they see older goats like running. Or like, did I run? Let me think about that. And they muster up the courage, and they go and they start running. Then you can never stop the baby goats. So be a baby goat, and in the end, be a goat. But no, seriously,
I love it.
add
I
a
love
little, like that Salt Bay, the
it. Yeah,
meme that was
yeah,
years old. He just
yeah.
sprinkle some courage on everything.
Yeah.
It'll help most things go down better. I think it will speed up your process a lot better, and definitely asking. Asking questions for clarity, right? I think supremely open up the world to you. I just want to understand what this is. I've been accused of asking too many questions, but more often than not, I'm asking the question because I'm interested in how you think, how you process the world. And so if something happens, I'm not thrown off by it. I'm not deflated or gobsmacked by the thing you did because I've been asking questions. I've been observing, not absorbing, but observing you. So it makes sense. Water is wet. I've never met dry water before. So it's the same thing with people. I'm asking questions because it gives clarity. And then that clarity builds my confidence. And that confidence comes all the way back to my courage.
I love that. It's almost kind of like feel the fear and have the courage to do it anyway, or have the courage to grab the opportunities that show up for us as well, which is absolutely stunning in that sense. And you're right. It's like the curiosity is. I'm like you, Yolanda. I ask too many questions. I get really, really curious, and then I get excited about stuff as well. The more I learn about stuff too, which is beautiful. One concept that we've been talking is a realization that we're abundant anyway. Even when we're lacking, we're abundant in lack. So what do we prefer to be abundant in? Like if you think about it, we're abundant in everything, and whatever we're experiencing, we're having it all, kind of a thing. So it's quite a beautiful notion to understand in that sense of, I've experienced an abundance in this, and I want to experience abundance in something else. So and one needs to absolutely to shift and change. But you're so right, Yolanda, in the sense of like what you were saying earlier. It's not enough to just think about it. One needs to embody it, for sure. And I think that your program has come at such a right time because of the change that is happening on the planet. Especially as we're moving in through more of moving out of our heads and into our hearts and in embodying our truth once more. I think that everything that is not true for us is starting to show the cracks, and we're starting to have the courage to go, this isn't good enough for me anymore. I want more. I want this. I want to let go of, whatever's holding me back, or I want to experience something else, or, realizing that every day we are becoming, I think, or have the opportunity to become, or just to be, I think is the other thing, is just to be in this moment. Because I think a part of becoming happens, like you both said, it happens now. And how do we shift into that? Because, feel the fear, have the courage to feel the fear and do it anyway, and choose your authentic self. Because a lot of the times, we fear people's judgments or their perceptions when we are being our authentic self. Is there any advice that you would give to our listeners around embracing our authenticity, shining our weirdo light so that other weirdos can find us? And that's okay, because those are our tribe.
Because I'm so weird. I feel like fear is a fallacy. And when I be working with young people, a lot of times, I have a piece of tissue paper or something, or tissue you blow your nose with or something. And I say, what's your finger? okay. I wet their finger and I said, but touch the paper and then push through. And they were like, all right, I did that. I said, that's fear. And it's a fallacy. it's a whole tissue
Love
paper.
that example.
It's all tissue paper thin. And I said, adults, every day they wake up, they make up stuff. Why don't you make up something that feels good to your nervous system? I said, if you're gonna like really embrace something, do something that feels supremely good, and you would offer it to other people. I've never met anybody who just wants to go up and give people a cup of fear. I've never met that person. I guess fear could be good if it was compostable. Maybe we make some better soil. But I think that's one of the steps. Just like really investigate, is the thing that is holding you back true?
Yeah.
What's true about that thing? Right? Is that thing going to get you to your peace, your pleasure, and your freedom? Or is it impeding that? Yeah. And sometimes it's not that you want more, you just want different. Because I just see everything as on a spectrum. I love playing in the middle. I was just thinking about that this morning, knowing that we were going to do this afternoon. I was like, you don't really live on either end of the spectrum. You really play in the middle a lot. And when you see a color, you're like, oh, how many values, shades and tones and values of that color, and what can you mix it with? And that sort of thing. But if I just stayed on blue and orange, blue is on one end of the spectrum and then orange is on the other, I miss all the stuff in the center. Some of it is just going to be brown, honey. But then how can we make? So I think, that do a litmus test on what's true. And a lot of stuff is not true, so you don't have to be afraid of it. Many things are just made up for someone else's convenience. Like I really love Gabor Mate. I mean, just get into this guy. He talks a lot about how some systems are set up so you just stay flat. If you're flat, obedient, compliant, not curious, you're really perfect for a lot of situations. But the people that are really lighting up the world, they're dimensional weirdos. And I tell people, go look up the etymology of weirdo. It was not bad. Weird is really good. We would probably still, I don't know what we would be doing if we weren't weird. It would be so not fantastic.
An office job, probably.
Yeah, because every time I can go and watch something from 1940.
Yeah,
I'm like, somebody was really weird. They figured out we're going to make something called a streaming service. And Yolanda will get to watch movies with people with clothing for the 1945. I love that period, the 20s to the 40s. Oh, that's my time. I'm so glad somebody was curious and they went to school and they had some little friends and they were all sitting around eating egg rolls. And how are we going to do it? Right? And their parents would probably say, you can't do that. You've got to become a civil engineer. What are you talking about Netflix for? That's ridiculous. So somebody got together and maybe they were all afraid. But together, they were in community. They were trying to make that connection. They were trying to do, what is the growth potential here for me? So I'm like, one thing that I would have to probably add is stop trying to do everything by yourself. Test what is true and stop trying to do everything on yourself. I think this Aquarian time is very much about community, very much about collaboration, very much about what is true and what is not true, and what is in alignment, not only for you personally, for this planet. And she is very concerned about us right now. And I don't want her sending all us to take a nap. You know how your mother used to send you
Right.
Take
I've
a
had
nap.
enough.
Right.
Go to your
Exactly.
room.
Exactly. Exactly. You're right. There's enough light here, right, for us to speak our voices authentically and come together and to create change. That first change being ourselves. Um, I would offer as something for the collective is that abundance is our natural state.
Mhm.
And if we can just sit with that for a minute, abundance is our natural state. We are not that different from nature. In fact, we are nature.
Yeah.
And if we go outside and look at trees and blades of grass, we can't even count how many blades of grass there are.
Mm.
We would get lost trying to count how many leaves are on a tree, how many pieces of bark, are on the tree, all of that, right? We would get lost because it's so abundant, right? One seed, can just multiply infinitely, right? Forever. So we are part of that infinite abundance. And, we've all talked about how society would have us think something else. We were born through a family, a lineage. So there are
Mhm.
some things to work through. And I know that all of us here can acknowledge that. And so for those watching, just know that just getting in tune with that natural state of abundance and realizing that we are not that different from nature, and to look at the cues, look at the signals. What season are we in? Not quite
Mm.
summer yet. We're still in spring, believe it or not, even though it's still June. We haven't crossed over, to the solstice yet. But let's just kind of take our cues from nature, take our cues from the moon. What should I be doing? What do I need to work on within myself? And then what Yolanda said just is so important about the community. Finding that community who values your gifts and your talents and your abilities. And you can just get in the flow like we did here today and just pick up the information, even if it's just that confidence of, I knew what I was talking about, or I always thought that. And you can just have that assurance of, I was on the right path anyway. And you just keep moving forward. Be in communities that help you keep moving forward.
Beautiful. I was just thinking with all of this talk on a story that happened yesterday in the Roland Garros final game. I don't know if you
Oh,
see
yeah.
tennis. Well, in this final game of the tennis match, these two guys, it was Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz. So they were both playing, and it was a long, long game, 5 hours and 40 minutes.
Oh.
And they were playing and they were matching the same points in each of the sets. So the Italian won the sets in the numbers that then the Spaniard matched those numbers in the other two sets. So they were really, really even. But the people that were narrating the game, they were saying that the guy that is going to win this game is the one that picks up the energy from the crowd because they are too tired. Both were
Mhm.
too tired. Both were very even, and the one that had more wisdom to ask about for that energy because he needed that energy was this Carlos, and he started to claim the audience to ask for cheering up, and he pick up and absorb the energy, and he just played the last set like he was beginning the match. So it was just amazing how this process. If you could watch the 5 hours and 40 minutes, you could see how life in that game was represented because many times we are too tired and we need to ask for that energy from the community. So that's what he did. He listened to the crowd, he listened to the community, he listened to the voices, and he pick up and tune in the frequency of asking. And this was the abundant ask for him because he won. But they both needed to deserve the trophy. They both played really well. But the guy that asked was the guy that won. So I think that's a beautiful analogy for everything that you teach us today. that happens in sports, that happens in life, and that happens everywhere we look at. The people that ask for something and has the courage to suck up the energy of asking is the one that pulls through. No.
Mm, that's so beautiful.
Wow.
So beautiful. And I'm looking at your picture in the background there, David, and what's coming to mind as we bring things to a close is the heart is that organ that symbolizes courage. So you know how we just talked about, coming from the head space into the heart, and we have courage, and then it's the heart who has the heart to ask abundantly.
Yeah, beautiful.
So how do people get a hold of you both?
Yeah.
Tell our viewers.
Beautiful. On Instagram, it would be Reiki with Soulara. I'm also on Facebook at Soul Reiki Health, Beauty, Wellness. Once you start typing in Soul Reiki, it'll just finish it up there. So that's Facebook. And then through email, the email will be impact at soulsuite, SUITE, impact.com.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Nice.
And Yolanda?
Yolanda.
I live on LinkedIn a lot of the time. And on LinkedIn, just type in Creative Brown at the end. And everywhere else on the internet, it's Copyright Brown, CopywriteBrown. I am on Instagram, and I mostly post dancing videos.
Nice. I love that.
I hardly post anything about editing and writing, but they are I just want to offer joy. So Copyright Brown at Instagram, if you want a little joy. I love, like, a lot of times I'll just tag a day. It's Thursday, and I'll just put up a dance video.
Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing the joy.
Thank you. Thank you to both of you. I think that we had the picnic, the energy picnic today. It was just amazing, and I hope that many people reach to you so that they can ask for this program, so that they can ask for guidance and they can feel the abundance that is in the asking. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing your nuggets of knowledge. It was so beautiful to watch you both. Thank you so much. Very grateful.
Thank you for having us. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. I gained as much as I believe I may have given. And I will leave your audience with, what is your ask? Think about that this week. And we're around if you want to workshop it with us.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Thank you, everyone, and ask questions so that they can help you, and reach for them so that they can guide you. Thank you, and we'll see you in our next episode. Bye.
Bye.